Somewhere on the internet, on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon, a message appeared. It wasn't on a news site. It wasn't from a journalist, a government agency, or a corporation. It appeared in one of the darkest corners of the web, a place most people never visit. And within hours, it would set off one of the most elaborate, mysterious, and deeply unsettling puzzles the internet has ever seen. The message was simple, just a few lines long, but hidden inside it were codes, ciphers, coordinates, and clues that would send thousands of people around the world on a chase that lasted years. Some of them quit after the first week. Some of them are still looking for answers today. Nobody knows who sent it. Nobody knows why. And to this day, nobody knows what it was really for. This is the story of Cicada 3301. To understand what Cicada 3301 was, you have to understand where it started. In January of 2012, the Paranormal and Mystery Board of 4chan was, as usual, full of ghost stories, conspiracy theories, and people trolling each other. It was not a place anyone expected to find something real, but on that particular day, a user with no history on the board posted a single image. Black background, white text, no username, no explanation, no follow-up. Hello. We are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it if you are able to. Good luck. 3301. Most people who saw this post probably scrolled past it, but a few didn't. One of those people was a programmer. He looked at that image and ran it through a tool that extracts readable text hidden inside files. And there, buried in the raw data of the image itself, was a message, a Caesar cipher, one of the oldest encryption methods in human history. He decoded it. It was a link to a Reddit thread. And there, a new image waited. Just a photograph of a duck. Nothing else. Most people would have given up there. But the programmers who had made it this far didn't stop. They ran that image through the same analysis. And there was something hidden in it too. Another cipher. This time pointing to a specific book, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell by the English poet William Blake. The decoded message gave them another URL and another clue, and then another, layer by layer, cipher by cipher, puzzle by puzzle. Every time they thought they'd reached the end, there was another step waiting. But here's what was already becoming clear. This was not a troll. This was not a joke. Whoever had designed this puzzle had put real effort into it, real skill, real knowledge of cryptography, literature, and programming. This was something else entirely. The question was, what? By January 5th, just one day after the original post, something remarkable had already happened. What started as a single image on a fringe corner of the internet had spread. Reddit threads, IRC channels, programmers, cryptographers, linguists, and amateur puzzle solvers from the United States, Germany, Poland, Russia, Australia, all working on the same problem at the same time. Nobody knew each other. Nobody was being paid. There was no prize announced, no reward promised. Just the puzzle itself, and the strange, magnetic pull of not knowing what was on the other side. The community called themselves solvers, and in those first 48 hours they moved fast. After the book cipher had been cracked, the decoded text led them to a phone number, a real phone number. With a US area code, people called it. What they heard on the other end was not a human voice. It was a recorded message, a robotic tone reading out a string of numbers. Another cipher, another layer. The solvers decoded it, and it gave them yet another clue, this time pointing to a specific image hidden on a website that, on the surface, appeared to be completely blank. Hidden inside that blank page was another message, and this one was different. This one gave coordinates, real-world coordinates, not one location, multiple, simultaneously, around the world, 5 countries, 5 sets of coordinates. All revealed at the same time, Chiet, meaning whoever was behind this had planned for a global audience from the very beginning. The solvers who lived near those coordinates did something that probably seemed absolutely insane. They went there, and what they found changed everything. Posters, printed physical posters, stuck to telephone poles and walls in cities across the United States, Poland, South Korea, Australia, France, and Spain. Each poster had a QR code. Each QR code led somewhere new. This was no longer just an internet puzzle. Whoever Cicada 3301 was, they had people on the ground, in multiple countries, who had physically placed these posters before the puzzle even went public. This required planning, resources, real human beings operating in the real world. The internet had a new question now, and it was a much more frightening one. Who has the money, the manpower, and the motive to do something like this? But let's slow down for a moment, because what happened next is where Cicada 3301 stops feeling like a clever internet puzzle and starts feeling like something much harder to explain. The posters that were found on those telephone poles weren't just QR codes. Each one had a symbol on it, a cicada. The same cicada that had appeared in the very first image posted on 4chan. And when solvers scanned the QR codes, they weren't taken to a simple web page. They were taken to new puzzles. Each location had a different clue. Each clue required a different skill to solve. One required knowledge of ancient Mayan numerology. Another was hidden inside an audio file and could only be decoded using a spectrogram, a tool that converts sound into a visual image. When solvers ran the audio through the spectrogram, a phone number appeared in the sound waves themselves, a number that, when called, gave them yet another piece of the puzzle. Think about what that means. Whoever built this didn't just know cryptography, they knew Mayan mathematics, they knew audio steganography, they knew how to print and distribute materials across multiple continents without being detected. They knew how to build layered puzzles that required completely different areas of expertise at every single step. This was not one person working alone in their bedroom. This was an organization, a serious one. And the deeper the solvers went, the more the puzzle started to reveal a pattern. Every clue, every cipher, every hidden message pointed toward the same themes: privacy, freedom of information, the corrupting nature of power, individual liberty against institutional control. The puzzle wasn't just testing intelligence. It was testing something else. It was testing values. And then came the book. Hidden inside one of the later clues was a reference to a text called Liber Primus, which in Latin means the first book. It was written entirely in runes, ancient Norse runes, and it contained philosophy. Strange, layered, deeply written philosophy about the nature of the self, the importance of protecting knowledge, and the dangers of those who seek to control information. This wasn't a game anymore. Whatever Cicada 3301 was, it had a worldview, it had beliefs, and it was looking for people who shared them. By this point, weeks into the puzzle, the solver community had grown into something remarkable. Hundreds of people across dozens of countries, coordinating in real time, sharing breakthroughs at 3 in the morning, celebrating when a cipher cracked open, going silent when a new layer appeared that nobody could understand. But something else was happening too. People were starting to drop out. Not because the puzzle was too hard, because it was starting to feel wrong. Forum posts began appearing from solvers who said they felt watched, that certain clues seemed too specific, too personal, that the puzzle seemed to know things about the people solving it. One solver wrote that after reaching a certain stage, they received a private message from an unknown account. The message contained information that only they would know. They never posted in the thread again. Others reported that certain stages of the puzzle required solvers to submit personal information to continue. Not names or addresses, but ideological statements, written responses to philosophical questions about surveillance, government, and personal freedom. And here's where the theories started to divide the community. Some believed Cicada 3301 was a recruitment tool for a highly secretive but legitimate organization, perhaps a privacy advocacy group or a think tank for elite cryptographers. People who wanted to find the smartest, most ideologically aligned individuals on Earth and bring them together for a purpose that was never publicly stated. Others believed it was something darker, a psychological profiling operation, a way to identify highly intelligent, ideologically motivated individuals and catalog them. For what purpose, nobody could say. And then there were those who believed the answer was simpler and in some ways more unsettling than either theory. They believed Cicada 3301 was an intelligence agency recruitment program. Specifically, they pointed to the NSA, the CIA, and GCHQ in the United Kingdom. The level of resources required, the global coordination, the emphasis on cryptography and information theory, the philosophical screening process. It all fit the profile of exactly the kind of operation a signals intelligence agency would run if they wanted to find exceptional talent outside of traditional hiring channels. None of these theories have ever been confirmed. None of them have ever been fully disproven. And the puzzle kept going. So who was behind Cicada 3301? That question has never been officially answered, but over the years, enough evidence has accumulated to paint a picture, even if that picture has no face. What we know for certain is this: Cicada 3301 was not one person. The scale of the operation, and at the global coordination, the physical posters across multiple continents, the depth of knowledge required across dozens of fields, makes solo authorship essentially impossible. What we also know is that whoever they were, they had resources. Printing and distributing materials across 5 countries costs money. Maintaining servers, registering domains, coordinating physical drops. None of that happens by accident. The most credible theory among serious researchers is that Cicada 3301 was a private organization, highly secretive, ideologically driven, and genuinely interested in finding exceptional individuals, not for fame, not for money, for a purpose that was never made public. Some of the people who claim to have reached the final stages of the puzzle, and there are very few of them, have said that what waited at the end was not an answer. It was an invitation. To what, they have never said, whether out of choice or because they were asked not to. And that silence, more than any cipher, more than any hidden message, is perhaps the most unsettling thing about Cicada 3301. The people who know what it was aren't talking, and the people who are talking don't know. In 2014, Cicada 3301 posted what appeared to be a third puzzle. Solvers gathered again, the community reformed. And then, nothing. The puzzle stopped. Mid-sequence, no explanation, no final message, no closure, just silence. In 2016, a message appeared claiming to be from Cicada 3301. But the cryptographic signature that the organization had always used to verify its communications was missing. The community concluded it was a fake, someone trying to capitalize on the mystery. The real Cicada 3301, whatever it was, had gone quiet. Forums that had once buzzed with thousands of active solvers became archives. People moved on, got jobs, started families. Some of them still check occasionally, looking for a new post, a new image, a new cipher. There has been nothing. But here is what stays with you when you spend enough time inside this story. Cicada 3301 never asked for attention. It never sought publicity. Every major news article, every documentary, every YouTube video about it, none of that came from them. It came from the people they left behind. The ones who got close enough to feel the heat of whatever was burning at the center of this thing, but never close enough to see what it actually was. And maybe that was always the point. Not to be understood, not to be solved, but to find the people who were capable of getting close, and then to disappear. Cicada 3301 remains, to this day, one of the most sophisticated and genuinely unexplained mysteries the internet has ever produced. Not because the ciphers were unbreakable, most of them were broken. Not because the people behind it were invisible. They left footprints everywhere. It remains a mystery because the final answer, the thing at the center, has never been confirmed. We have theories. We have speculation. We have the silence of the people who claim to have reached the end. But we do not have the truth, and perhaps we never will. What we do have is the puzzle itself, still sitting there in forums and archives and downloaded files on old hard drives, waiting, as it always has been, for the right person in the right moment with the right mind. This has been Shadow Archive. The truth is out there. Whether you're meant to find it, that's another question entirely.